ready?
Well, not really, but
I mean, are we ever ready? I already told everybody what usually happens when we're getting ready to start, and I just witnessed it as you went to get a book to bring a quote, and then 20 minutes later you came out with mocktails.
it wasn't 20 minutes.
So
Did you? But if you're going to include that, you need to say how tasty it is.
it is a very delicious, not a Paloma, it's a Naloma. So non-alcoholic Paloma, it's a Naloma.
I think it's super great.
Well, we are purposely, but randomly here just outside of Fort Smith, Montana. You can see behind us we had to share with you just the absolute beauty that we have been experiencing in the last few days. And we're here on a trip that I've taken for 4 years now with my brother-in-law, Lamar, and a group of guys who become good friends, and invited Nathan to come on this one with us. And so we've been floating the river and fishing.
You were tired of being the token artist.
I was tired of being the token artist in a group of entrepreneurs, and I needed another artist with me. But we were floating the river yesterday, and Nathan was fishing. I could care less about fishing, so I was writing poetry and just observing everything around me.
Make sure you include a clip of the beautiful trout that I caught.
I will put up a photo of the trout that Nathan caught and released. And
released.
And I do have some video of you on the river untangling your line.
Which is what I spent most of my time.
Which is what we spent most of the day. But we just thought we'd sit down and just share with you and just spend some time hanging out. And I've really been reflecting since we've been here on soul care. And I think that's something that we both know is a necessity for artists. We've talked about it, sprinkle it in certain episodes and things, but really that getting away to come back, which we all know when we leave and we go somewhere and we are leaving our studio, which I did not want to leave my studio the last week.
Especially since you just got settled.
I just got rolling and settled in the new studio. I did not want to leave, but I know the impact that going away and coming back will have. Yeah. There's that reset, that refresh. But when you're doing it in a location that is just filled with absolute beauty that you cannot not be inspired, and it just fills you when you come back, it just tends to do something.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think anytime, that's why travel's so great, right? Is like anytime we can get out of our normal environment, our normal world, where we don't have to worry about, I mean, even in the studio, all the things, all the 7 crying babies that are calling our name, or our own, homes, obviously, where there's always stuff to do and has to take care of. There's a lot to be said for getting away no matter what you're doing. But I think especially given what we're doing and the type of work that we're doing, how intense it can be, how all-consuming it can and should be. Yeah, I think these times like this are incredibly, incredibly valuable. So,
well, thanks
for inviting me to come.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here. I brought art supplies with me. I brought little sketchbooks and notebooks. I know you brought your journals and books, and we brought stuff to still be mentally in an art space, but really just disengaging from the daily activities of everything else in a space where the air is completely beautiful and fresh and clear, and enjoying things that maybe we don't get as much of in our regular life. And one of the things I've been doing while here is I've been devouring the book Redbird by Mary Oliver for probably the past 3 months. I've read it multiple times, but I picked it up again to read, and one of her poems just hit me so hard that it made me dig deeper into the work, with something we talk about with our own work on a regular basis. When that you find that artist that you love, really, really dig into the work and them. And so I really started digging in hard. So I just have a few things to just kind of share, and love to hear because I've talked to you about it briefly, but I haven't really shared like the moments from the book. And
there's going to be a live reaction. I mean, in terms of most of our shows, this is a low prep,
very low
minimal prep situation.
Well, it was really, it's just like, this is free thought, free thinking moment, just verite in the process. And we said we wanted to do something while we're here. Why would we not? We never get to be together in person.
This is our first time recording.
Let's throw the mics on and
sharing space, but our first time recording in the same area, same room.
So we thought, let's just kind of talk about some thoughts and things that are going on. And then you said, you should share some of the things you've been thinking about with Redbird. And so I'm just going to read, I'm going to paraphrase. I want you to get this book and read it So I'm not going to read full poems, maybe one, but I'm just going to paraphrase some moments.
Yeah.
This one is from a poem called Invitation, and it says, "Oh, do you have time to linger for just a little while out of your busy and very important day? For the goldfinches have gathered in a field of thistles for a musical battle to see who can sing the highest note of the lowest. Do you have time not just for the sake of winning, but for sheer delight and gratitude? Believe us," they say, "it is a serious thing just to be alive on this fresh morning in this broken world. I beg of you, do not walk by without pausing to attend this ridiculous performance. It could mean something. It could mean everything. It could be what Rilke meant when he wrote, 'You must change your life.'" The beginning, do you have time to linger for a little while out of your very busy and important day?
Mm-hmm.
Number one, not for the sake of winning anything, but for sake of just sheer delight and gratitude. And I love, don't walk by without pausing. And it could mean something, but it could mean everything. I just thought about this with being an artist. Like, one of the things we're trying to do, and I'm trying to do, is slow my mental process down.
Mm-hmm.
Slow, that's the studio.
Yeah.
That's our space where we walk in and time should stop.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I want to slow the process down so that I am able to be aware. I am able to notice things that are as small as the goldfinches arguing that she's observing where she lives. We can hear the birds behind
I
us,
was just
right?
thinking, I don't know if our mics are going to
Perfect.
pick that up, but
I hope it does.
as you're reading that, I'm hearing the concert behind us. It's
It could
perfect.
mean something. It could be
Yeah.
something small, but maybe it's everything. So I was reading that and I'm like, that's what I'm trying to do with my own work in the
Mm-hmm.
studio, and make those pauses longer than shorter, because what I discover or what I hear the work telling me or I'm able to find in that moment could be something, but maybe it's everything.
The part of that really resonates with me the moment you said it. I just, yeah, it just clicked. But not for the sake of winning, but for the sheer. Say that again. How's
But
that
for the
finish?
sheer delight and gratitude.
But for the sheer delight and gratitude. That's something that it's perfect for where I'm at, and what I kind of brought into this time away was just I'm so I'm understanding that more and more about myself, but I'm wired for achievement. Every day, we talked about this, you and I, last night around the fire, but like every day, not on purpose, but just by my default mode is I'm waking up and thinking, what can I achieve today? What can I accomplish? Believing the lie that I have value because of what I do and not because of who I am.
Yeah.
So even on a retreat schedule where there's nothing that I have to do, there's still, I mean, hell, even the fact that I'm glad we're doing this, but
Yeah.
this was another, I'm like, okay, well, while we're there, we can get maybe we can get a couple episodes
Yeah.
in, maybe
Yeah.
I can, and so it's really not for the sake of winning, but for the sheer delight and gratitude. I mean, even what we're doing right now, just to, get real specific about this exact moment, but we're just having a conversation for sheer delight and gratitude. This might not be the most perfectly constructed outline we've ever used, and
Yeah.
that's okay. Yeah, so that's just such an important reminder, both here now, when we are, all of us, able to get away and take a break, but even more important when we're in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I didn't read the part that she follows up with on that, because she says, "But for sheer delight and gratitude, believe us," they say, "it is a serious thing just to be alive on this fresh morning in this broken world."
Hmm.
She's like, listen, don't you know this? That just the fact that you're alive on this morning in this broken world, you should have some delight and gratitude anyways.
Yeah.
Don't do things for, like, you should already. And that's the whole thing, is like, listen, that's what I love about Mary Oliver, observing nature. Listen, the
Mm-hmm.
birds don't care.
Yeah.
They're singing every morning, no matter what.
Yep.
Raining, hailing, snowing, they're still singing their songs.
Right.
And so I love that analogy of we get to be alive, we should also be doing the same thing each fresh morning. And I know for some of us, that's a lot more difficult than others, depending on where we are and what we've been through. But I always say this to artists too, like, man, you should have some sheer gratitude and thankfulness that you have this ability to do these things and go deep into them and explore them and give those gifts to the world.
That reminds me of something that was said around dinner last night. Pressure is a
Privilege.
Pressure is a privilege. So even the things that, whether they be external pressures, whether they be self-invented internal pressures, plenty of those.
Yeah.
No, I'm raising my hand.
I thought you were waving to
waving to somebody off in the distance. Hey,
I thought you were waving to a horse in
how
the
are you?
field or a white-tailed deer or whatever's hanging out over here. I gotta look.
I was raising my hand. I was raising my hand for, self-imposed internal pressures, mostly self-imagined and not even real. But the pressure to do something of significance is in itself a privilege and something to be thankful for.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, this poem I've read multiple times, and it never jumped out at me the way it did when I read it in Martha recently. And I was sitting there one morning, and I went, "Oh, that's my philosophy on art. How did I never notice this before?" And it's a very simple poem called Small Bodies. I'm going to read this full poem because it's really short. And she says, "And for those that aren't nature lovers, tough luck. You're getting a lot of nature poetry today." And I don't care. You need it. Okay, it's called Small Bodies. It is almost summer. In the pond the pickerel leap, and the delicate teal have brought forth their many charming young, and the turtle is ravenous. It's hard sometimes, O Lord, to be faithful. I am more boldly made than the little ducks paddling and laughing, but not so bold as the turtle with his greasy mouth. I know you know everything. I rely on this. Still, there are so many small bodies in the world for which I am afraid. The line that jumped at me was, I know you know everything. I rely on this. And the first thing that jumped in my mind was me standing in front of one of my works of art and studying it deeply, silently, and knowing that my work knows everything. My work knows more than I do.
Yeah.
And I rely on that. And so I wrote, oh my gosh, this is my philosophy. This has been my growing philosophy over time, by studying, by looking, by asking questions, by discussing work. Like, everything is in the work for me to discover.
Yeah.
And we talked about this last week in the last episode with Leonardo Drew, like that study and discovery and all those things that's in the work. The more we read, the more we listen, the more we journal, the more introspective we are, the more we ask questions of each other as artists, the more we seek out artists that know more or further along than us and ask for wisdom from them. That all feeds into our experience when we're alone in our studio and we're looking at our work and we're studying it. We have to realize, like, the work knows everything. It's going to tell us where things are going. We have to be so in tune with what's happening in our work, because so many times we're operating in our subconscious when we're creating our work.
Yeah.
It's not our foreconscious that is the understanding part we recognize every day. There are things happening that are coming from memory, from what we've seen, what sticks out, what color patterns our brain may be picking up on, what compositions. So there's things in the work that we don't even know we're putting in there.
Right.
And I read that and I was like, oh. And it's titled Small Bodies. And I think, like, small bodies of work have more to tell you about the large body of your lifetime of work.
Yeah.
Each time I'm working on a body of work in my lifetime, those are small bodies of work that make up the whole. But every one of them is guiding me to the next.
Right.
How much am I doing what we just read in the last poem, and really taking the time to stop and notice and listen and look and be appreciative and allow it to really speak to us?
And to allow something to speak to us, we have to be able to listen. Which means we have to stop talking, much like conversation. If I'm going to hear you, if I'm going to try and understand what you're saying, I need to not be talking for sure, and ideally not be thinking about what I'm gonna
Yeah.
say next. And it's no different with observing the natural world or observing our work. As you're talking, I'm thinking about the difference between, scientific studies and scientific experiments. Think about things that happen in the natural world. It's like the difference between Jane Goodall being embedded with
With the
the
chimpanzees and
right,
gorillas, and yeah.
yes, and just watching and just trying to go to extreme lengths over long periods of time to just get them comfortable with her presence from a distance to still behave the way that they normally would.
Yeah.
Contrast that with, animal studies in a lab,
Right.
many of which have been done,
Unnatural. Yeah.
unnatural, environments that are very much constructed and engineered to test a certain outcome, right?
Mm-hmm.
We want to be more in the former than the latter.
Yeah.
We want to be more, and of course there is a time if we're talking about our work, of course there are times where we are going to test and retest and keep experimenting for sure, but it's the observing and just sitting with what is without trying to affect or change the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really good practice for ourselves as human beings who are interested in continuing to grow and evolve as people,
Yeah.
is just observing, what is Nathan experiencing right now? And speaking in the third person, not like an egotistical,
Right. Yeah.
athlete or performer, but in the context of like, I'm observing myself from that objective third party, perspective,
Mm-hmm.
looking at myself as without identifying with the self, right?
Yeah.
What is Nathan experiencing right now? And just checking in with ourselves. We happen to be in an amazing environment where we are completely removed from, the day to day,
Mm-hmm.
which makes it so much, all the conditions are in place for us to be able to, sit in that space. But what I'm interested in talking about and thinking about today as well, Ty, is like how we can, have these moments and really protect moments like this in the day-to-day as well,
Yeah.
because these are unique
Mm-hmm.
experiences they don't come around,
Yeah.
I don't get to do this
Sure.
on a super regular basis, so I guess if I was to throw it back to you in the form of a question, what are some of the things, I've got some that I'll share as well, but I want to start with
Yeah.
you. What are some things that you do on like a day-to-day basis to have those moments of rest, of sitting, of recharging?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, daily I try to read every morning,
Mhm.
and it's about 90% of time. I mean, there
Yeah.
are some mornings I'm so eager to get in the studio that I bypass reading,
Yeah.
and I'm straight in there to start working on something. But that's rare, because for me, I need that. I don't need the cup of coffee for caffeine in the morning. It's really an enjoyable
Speak for yourself.
moment. Yeah. I mean, I drink a lot less coffee than I used to, but it's like there's something about the smell feeds me, the
Sure.
taste
Yeah.
feeds me. I love
Yeah.
it. There's something about holding the cup with my book, like that
Mm-hmm.
that just gets me prepared in a great way mentally.
Yeah.
Um, Removes any worry about anything that could be happening. But for me, it's just a moment.
Yeah.
Right now, there are definite days where I need to go stand outside and feel the sunlight on my face for 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Because that just, we all know, I mean, that's very healthy
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah.
And I do go on walks frequently.
Yeah.
And usually
Yeah.
I'm listening to music without words when I'm walking,
Yep.
classical music, jazz. But for me, that's just it may be in a neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
not like this, but I have sunlight, I have green, I've got the birds flying around, and I can breathe free, fresh air. And that's something that for me is just really, you'll understand this one. Any animal people out there are going to understand this. Just picking up cash and giving him a hug. You know what I mean? My puppy,
Yeah.
just picking him up and holding him.
Not going out and collecting from all the people that
No,
owe you
not
money. Yeah.
holding my little puppy, my studio assistant,
Yep.
and just giving him a hug. Like
Mm-hmm.
there are these moments that seem so small. And I think that's what Mary Oliver's really getting at in these things is
Mm-hmm.
like, listen, there's a simplicity in this. The simplicity is all these things that are around us to provide beauty and provide observation, like watching this robin while we're talking continually move from place to place, and he's observing us.
Yeah.
Or she's
Yeah.
watching what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's these mystical, magical things around us every day, no matter where we live, that are supplemental to life.
Yeah.
But they're supposed to be ingrained into what we do. There's supposed to be moments to look at the blooming wildflowers next to you blowing in the wind and notice that and watch it and wonder about it. But what that does for your soul, even in those few minutes, it's a very mystical, powerful thing that takes you deeper into you.
Yeah.
I truly believe that. And I know that's what she's saying in this entire book is, listen, this is easy, but I know how hard it is.
Yeah.
Listen, this is here for you too, if you're willing to do it.
Yeah.
Those are a couple things for me.
I want to talk about so for me, I think that the challenge that I have is first acknowledging that I need to rest. Like, I think I just think of it in terms of like there's proactive rest and there's reactive rest, which could otherwise be called breaks or whatever. If when I am consistent with my, morning routines and blah, 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 like that's the proactive, charging the battery, sharpening the axe, before getting into it, and really being intentional about protecting that time on the front end, because oftentimes once I get into it, I'm into it, and everything perpetuates the next thing, and so that's a big part of it is to your point, like having certain just natural points in the day where that happens, no matter what.
Yeah.
I think that on the reactive side, that is just as oftentimes more important for me, is to simply recognize, all right, I need to step away.
Yeah.
I need to at least sit down in my, studio chair. I need to pull out my lab note, big, hard, and I need to at least write some things down. Better yet, get my creative director in my lap and just sit before I even start to feel like I've got to do,
Yeah.
I'm a doer.
Everybody that has an animal or a creature at home, whether it be cat or dog, they know exactly what we're saying right now. It's a magical feeling when that person that loves you unconditionally, that little creature, that when you just give them that hug. And science also tells you cortisol levels, stress, anxiety levels,
oxytocin,
and that just that moment, like put you back on a level playing ground. And
but it starts with recognizing. It starts with just recognizing, like, oh, Nathan is pressing right now. Nathan is trying to, and I'm getting better at catching myself in those moments where I'm not listening, I'm not responding, I'm trying to make something happen. I'm trying to push, which there are times for. It does that does have, merit at times, but dear listener, may or may not have that in common with myself. But I think it's just acknowledging for each of us, like, okay, what are my little like yellow flag moments that I can catch and realize, oh, it's time to just to step away, to go for a walk, to sit down and read something, to, you and I, we talk about this all the time, what our journaling practices, do for us. And I've got a number of different types of journaling that I've got different journals, for different those things. Totally. But on the tactical side, when I get stuck with the work, it is that studio log, and it's writing down, once I am settled, once I can observe objectively as possible on something that I've just materially changed or done something to, even if time or a lot of it has not yet passed, but just observing, sitting, listening. And I like to just write down everything that comes to mind that I could do. I mean, at any point on any given work that we're doing, there's any number of forks in the road that have not just an A or B,
Yeah.
but right, there's an infinite
Yep.
number of things that we could potentially do. And so I'll sit and I'll write down, all right, here are then whatever. And sometimes it's a handful of things, sometimes it's 12 or 15 things.
Yeah.
And then I'll sit some more without writing and just say, okay, now I'm just going to cross off the ones that, no bad ideas on the just
Right.
capturing portion, but then getting into, all right, what really makes, what do you need, dear piece in front, like, and having that conversation as opposed to just continuing to be in motion. We were talking about this last night as well. And this might be interesting to kind of circle back on, but I was sharing with you how I have when I'm in this, that's why being away from the studio is so valuable, because when I'm in the studio, when I'm in my space, I have this compulsion to always be moving and always be working, which again is not a part of me that I'm trying to stop or short circuit altogether. I think that is, generally positive, but it does prevent me from being in tune and recognizing when it's time to just breathe and sit and not be in perpetual motion and action.
Right. Well, and I think that is, there's another poem that she writes about just at the time she wrote at the time in America that was going on. And I think it was
what time frame is this?
It was right after the Iraq war started, weapons of mass destruction, et cetera, et cetera. And so she was just kind of writing about what she thought people would remember about our country at that time, and that she's heartbroken for what she thinks people will remember. But one of the things that she mentions is, what if everybody had a little bit more humility, empathy, and stopped to take the time to notice everything more? What that would do to the community as a whole, the community of humanity, of human beings, took the time to notice the wildflowers, notice the robin perched on top of the barn chirping. What would happen if everybody collectively did take those moments to stop and notice more often? And her observations are she thinks it would have a lot greater impact than one would ever know. But you think about just that idea in its own, I think that's part of what our responsibility as artists is to create things that allow people to take a moment to stop and think in a different way. Right? It's almost as if, we're kind of creating some of that ability to get people to come back to something by what they saw, or return to something, or move ahead to something.
Written 35 years ago, could have been written yesterday.
Right, exactly. Let's see, it was 2008, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but I'll bet that poem was written around that time that it got published. 2008. So, yeah.
So, I'll jump in with this.
Yeah.
The book that I brought.
You did buy it.
I definitely paid for this. Yes. The book that I brought with is Notes from the Woodshed, which I've already done an episode on, and we're going to circle back to as well. I am going back through this. I'm especially excited. So Ella and I, our youngest, we're taking a trip to New York next month. It's primarily, she loves theater and music. It's going to be mostly Broadway centric, but we're going to see the Whitten show at MoMA, so I'm super excited for that. But I've been rereading these, which is a great thing, like to read Whitten's journals while also doing my own version of reflection and journaling. It's really cool. So this is something. This is from page 82. It's remarkable what time will do for your head. For years of hard work later, I discover what I was trying to do. So what sticks out to me about that in the context of what we're discussing today is just the benefit of time and space. And we're not going back to our studios and the things that we're working on, the problems that we're trying to solve with years necessarily, although we're doing that too. But just being able to go back with fresh eyes. Having spent more than, when I'm home, I don't ever spend more than one day out of the studio. Sundays,
Yeah.
maybe Sundays. You may not even have a single day where you don't at least walk in your studio now that it's right on your property,
Not now.
right?
Mm-mm.
And so just the benefit of having some space between what we're doing and when we consider what it even means, or more importantly, what's coming next,
Yeah.
or what it's inspiring, or what it's leading to. A couple pages later, Jack writes, this is from 1975. I take my cue from nature. Even with color, I take my cue from nature, i.e., presenting an all-over tonal range with occasional patches of hue. I want to put the fear of God in these paintings. I want to evoke a spiritual, magical, cosmic existence with a material connection, emotionally charged.
That's one of my favorite sections in the entire book because it absolutely defines Jack Whitten for me because of who I have learned he is
Yeah,
and how I have been brought into his process and way of thinking and way of infusing cosmic, right? He says cosmic quite a bit in
all
the
the
book,
time.
all the time.
Yes.
And I love just how he's saying that I want to invoke the fear of God into them.
Mm-hmm.
Viewer, curator, gallery owner, museum director, that's who he's talking about, and other artists.
Yeah.
Like he wants it to be so spiritually invoking
Right.
that it elicits the fear of God into them in lots of different ways, because you learn more in the book, all the things that he's fighting or dealing with or struggling with
Yeah.
outside of his work
Mm-hmm.
that our art will generate. I
Yeah.
just love that there's a focus and a calm focus of a calm and very intense mentality
Mm-hmm.
into making the work that he's making at that time and that he ends up discovering
Right.
down the road.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think about, his whole practice around, I can't recall exactly what year he got the place in Crete, but once that was an annual,
Yeah.
sort of pilgrimage for him. And that's a place where he would go and be completely away
Yeah.
from his painting for a couple months, a
Yeah.
few months, and wow. I mean, to have something like that, again, whatever it is for each of us, whatever we're able to make,
Yeah.
possible or build into our lives, but taking his cue from nature.
Yeah.
In order to do that, you've got to spend some time in it. And so you think about the completely different environment that he consciously put himself into, and being in a completely different part of the world. I mean, so much of, if you've gotten this book yet, if you haven't, you need to. It's so good. And since doing that episode, and I couldn't have been more strong in my insistence that people get me this book. I've had a lot of people, hit me up and DM me saying, "Oh, I'm so glad you recommended that. I haven't yet had anybody be, oh yeah,
There's no way.
really didn't dig it too much. Like, you will love this book. And if you really read it and don't love it, I'll give you your money back. I will buy it for you. But you have to give it to somebody else.
Yeah.
If you didn't really love it, but you think about that time away. And we did our Leonardo Drew episode a few episodes back, or episodes, I guess we did it in 2 parts, but we talked as well about Drew's practice of traveling to different parts, and how that really helps him to develop his what? Say it.
You just threw me for a loop calling me out like that in an instant. Because
the word
here's part
it's
of
the word that I teased you about the other day.
Here's our problem with this podcast, everybody. And Nathan and I talk about this off camera. I'll be full into explaining and discussing something, and it elicits new thoughts and ideas in him.
Yeah.
And then he is gone figuring out all these new things while I'm talking. And then there's, what were you saying? So I just totally, and I do it all the time. Nathan's going and I'm like, oh, hold on a second. Wait, this, that. Oh, and then all of a sudden you get and what is it? And you go, oh, I was just 500 fucking miles away in my head.
We're both just waiting for our turn to talk. Let's just be honest about it. I mean, it's really just like, are you done yet? Okay, here's what I've got.
This is the importance of finding. This is literally the importance in the world in finding that artist friend that you're able to make disappear and go deeper and find new things. And then say,
okay, I was trying to cue you up to hear the word that you pronounce in your, I'm not going to say mispronounce, but pronounce in
Well,
your own
shit,
way.
that's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a couple. There's a couple. Okay. You said it came up like 7 times in the Drew episode. It's antenna.
Oh, antenna.
Okay, well, now you know how to say it. I got it. That's why I was trying to get you to say
Antenna.
it. There it is. Antenna.
Yeah.
All right. Our regular listeners, go back and listen to Ty say antenna in the Drew episode. Okay, yeah. But that's it. Bring this back. That was his whole thing about, develop, if you're going to be a receiver.
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing here, but it's a good idea to put yourself in different places.
So you can receive far more than you would be able to in one spot all the time.
So that's what he's done in traveling to all over the world. That's what Whitten was doing with his regular trips, to Crete and, gone fishing. And what's cool too about when you get into Jack's story too, I don't know that he did any painting in Crete, but that's where he did most of his sculptures was in Crete.
But that makes sense to me.
100%.
That makes absolute sense. He's in Crete. He's in Greece.
Yep.
Right? I don't know if the history of sculpture, I'll have to look this up, was formed in Greece.
Yep.
I'm sure it came from African nations and tribes and worked its way into Greece. But Greece is known for famous sculptors.
Absolutely.
And, a lineage of incredible architects and sculptors. So that influence, of course, would be absolutely prevalent. Yeah.
And we talk about this all the time, Ty, but I think, that's one of the things that's really so energizing about being away from the studio, where we have our whole little world, where we have everything, all the colors, all the tools, all the materials, whatever at our disposal, and getting out of our regular space is just doing something different, know? Like I was observing you yesterday while everybody else was fishing. Ty's sitting in the boat, and he's, no, I'm not gonna, that's not my thing, but he's sketching, he's observing, he's listening. And I would guess that you were able to observe and absorb certainly more than I was in that environment, because I'm thinking about how to fly fish, which is really tricky, and barely got, and trying to, so I was focusing on trying to learn how to do something that I didn't know how to do. But anyway, so getting out of your space and doing something that you don't normally do. We were waiting for a boat earlier this morning, and a bunch of people were talking, and then, as is my introverted nature, I'm like, how can I get away from the people and go do, how can I do something? Like, I'm going to be on a pontoon for a good amount of time, trapped. That's strong, but not a lot of options to go wander off and
just be alone,
be in my own little world. So I saw this glorious pile of driftwood, that I had to climb up to kind of get to, but, made a little driftwood, sculpture. And
Jacqueline would have been in heaven and not been able to leave.
I thought about Jacqueline.
See, I did too. That's the first thing I thought about.
Yeah, she would have had a field day, and there's some gorgeous pieces.
She would have figured out a way how to rent a U-Haul and drive it back to Michigan.
100%. Yeah, but so just the value of getting, and whatever that looks like. I mean, it could be just the space that you're happening to be in, but doing something that's different than, what you're normally doing has tremendous value.
Absolutely.
And it's that much easier when you've completely removed the option of doing what you normally do.
Yeah.
Right.
I think there's something for putting yourself at times in uncomfortable situations.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like something that's, you shouldn't be there, or it's like, but putting yourself in opportunities to learn new things that you're uncomfortable with.
Right.
And I would say if America was better at being around people they're uncomfortable with, there'd be a whole lot more community and not as much fighting and arguing and hate being spewed. So I think in life the first time I came to Montana, I spent a day to experience fly fishing. I could care less about fishing. And honestly, my guide on the river knew that because every time the little indicator, which is the little floater thing that sits on the water, when it goes under, that means a fish is on the hook and you're supposed to, pull and he would say, indicator, Ty, how long has your indicator been underwater? Because and I'm looking at the trees and I'm looking at the wind. Oh, bald eagle, and it's like, because but I did it and I spent a day. It was out of my comfort zone. But I tried something new, and I think that does absolutely impact who you are as a person with experience, whether you like it or not. You did it. It's, new foods.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've traveled all over the world. I'm a very picky eater here at home, but when I travel the world, I eat everything.
Yeah.
I've eaten some of the craziest, wildest things in Africa, in Eastern Asia, that in small villages and refugee camps that you would never try. And I've tried them, and some of them have gone, I love this.
Right.
But that experience, even in not liking it,
Yes.
experience it with somebody else,
Yep.
with other people, it does develop you as a human being in ways that are very special. Did you have any other Whitten you wanted to share?
Well, there was one more.
Yeah.
And it's just
because I'll Whitten all day long.
Yeah, we can. we will do well. We've got at least one more episode of that with Jamel. Hopefully.
It's gonna be my new thing.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to Whitten for a while? Let's do it. What page?
It's kind of like Tofering.
Yeah.
Oh, you missed that. Yeah. Anyway, what I love about this, so some of what's in here are just, he's got studio logs for entire years. And he may have just, a lot of these are just one-line entries from entire days and entire weeks. So this is the 8th of March, 1993. 4 words. Nature does not think. Nature does not think.
Nature exists.
It just is.
Yeah.
It just is. That's what's so fun about, it's so fascinating about the natural world, as a whole. But I was just as interested, I'm not too far from you there. I was interested in trying, fly fishing and having that experience. But I was just as interested in watching the raccoons on shore and the muskrats and watching the way the bull snake, made its way across the top of the water, and the egrets and the swallows, and just all of everything else that we got a chance to observe and experience yesterday. It's not thinking, it's just existing, it's just living, it just is, and I think that when we are at our best as artists, that's what we're doing. It's the act of just being, of just responding to what's in front of us and what is. And the less I'm thinking, the better, because my mind says a lot of ridiculous things, and most of them are not true or relatively useful whatsoever.
I was going through quotes this morning, so I wanted to share a Nick Cave quote with somebody that's here with us. And as I was going through my notes trying to find one on vulnerability, which there's quite a few from Nick Cave, I came across one that said, sometimes we need permission to just be and not do.
Yeah.
And that's what nature just is.
Yeah.
It's not doing, it's being.
Right.
And sometimes we do need permission. We need somebody to tell us, hey, Nathan, quit doing, just be right now.
Yeah.
And I have this conversation with ours. I'm like, you're overdoing, you're overthinking, you're over worrying, you're over pressuring. Just get in there and just do a bunch of shit. Just let it flow. Don't worry, it's good or bad. All that stuff, like the Warhol quote that we're based on. But sometimes we do need that person to let us know, hey, it's okay to go spend a month flailing around and being horrible.
Yeah.
Because that next month there could be something very beautiful in it,
So I think do you have anything else?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I got a closer.
I have a closing thought, but hit it.
Okay. You want me to go first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's one more poem, which I just love. There's some, oh man. Get it. Redbird, poems by Mary Oliver. And this one, the Pulitzer, actually, for poetry, this book, which makes sense because it's incredible. This is Mornings at Blackwater. This is a pond near her home. Mornings at Blackwater. For years, every morning I drank from Blackwater Pond. I love that picture. Just that start. For years, every morning I drank from Blackwater Pond. It was flavored with oak leaves and also, no doubt, the feet of ducks. And always it assuaged me from the dry bowl of the very past. What I want to say is that the past is the past, and the present is what your life is, and you are capable of choosing what will be, my darling citizen. So come to the pond, or the river of your imagination, or the harbor of your longing, and put your lips to the world and live your life. What? And I love what I want. The past is the past. The present is what your life is.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about that a lot in the podcast with our trauma and recovery and the things that the past is the past.
Mm-hmm.
Our life is the present right now, and you're capable of choosing what that will be.
Yeah.
My darling citizen. She's saying, you who are of the same world I am.
Yeah.
We are citizens of the same world, the same humanity. Come to the pond, the river of your imagination, or the harbor of your longing. Few different descriptions there. 3 different bodies of water that she's talking about. The pond, which is small and right there, it's at your doorstep. The river of your imagination, the thing that's constantly flowing and going.
Yeah.
Right. And then the harbor of your longing, like the place where you come to dock.
Yeah.
The place where you come to stay. What are you longing for? What do you need to sit and rest in? Right. Those layers that she's painting there. Do these things, put your lips to the world.
Yeah.
Like that's a very sensual, actionable thing. Put your lips to the world and live your life.
Yeah. If you are actually going to put your lips to one of those bodies of water, start with a river.
They don't have the duck feet, as Mary says.
Pond water should be third on that list, probably, maybe second if the harbor is salt water. But still, like pond water should not be your preferred natural cocktail if you're just getting started. But yeah, no, that's so beautiful. I do need to get that. It's
a must.
I might just steal it from you.
Well, that you cannot do.
I bet I could manage. Cut to us wrestling. That's the end of the show. And scene. No, I think the thing that I wanted to close on, just as an idea, was just I think just how do we make this applicable to everyone anytime. We already kind of talked about it, but just getting out of your natural space, getting out of your natural world. And it can be as simple as a walk. It can be as simple as going to, a park, or just, if you're not an outdoors person, just a different place, just a whatever.
Patio of a coffee shop.
A new coffee shop. Yep, totally. And just putting yourself in an environment that you're not typically in, and just seeing what comes up when you're able to sort of escape the trappings of the thick of it. Right. Yep. Where you're spending most of your time and where you're getting your mail, so to speak.
Yeah, man. Well, I don't know what you are all doing today, but I hope that this impacted you, at least in a way that would make you reevaluate time a little bit, reevaluate a separation of things for you in the studio that will make you just, even if it's just walking outside, like you said, and just letting the sun hit your face and experiencing just the existence of what is being alongside us always doing.
Right.
Because we do we all operate in a harmony together. We're all here in the same space at the same time, right? And there is a harmony to that. And I think we need to be a part of that harmony in a very silent and reflecting way more than we are.
Yeah.
And that's something that I'm even challenging myself to do. And sometimes it does take a weekend away.
Yeah.
Next to the rolling hills and the bluffs in Montana by the river. But I would like it to be more about me just recognizing it regularly than taking a longer escape away somewhere else. But take a break, go do something to come back. Take a walk, go drink a glass of wine in a cafe that you haven't been to before, or just do something. Highly encourage that.
Glass of pond water if you're feeling froggy.
Drink some pond water.
Join us next time for our next episode of Just Make Art.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go journal some more.
That was
How about
good.
you?
Yeah, I'm going to go write.
All right, beautiful.
I think that's a fun episode.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can get up. Yeah, you're going to have to.
Oh, I didn't get the book that
You did go up to get Whitten. That was the whole reason. You went upstairs, remember? And then you got mocktailed. Oh, did we hit record?
I did, yeah.
Good, so I'm glad we got that.
See if you like it. I'm going to get the book that I meant to get earlier.
Oh, okay, I'll see you in 20.
But I might come back with a tasty treat, so you never know.
Sure you will.